Hello.
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 How is everyone tonight?
Good for a Thursday with school being back in.
Right? I feel like I'm finally getting in the hang of things, but not getting in the hang of
I'm
things.
like, I'm not there yet, but my week has
Keep
been
hoping.
crazy with dentist appointments. So,
Yeah,
and
that
then
it
next
has.
week I will be with you.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Next week, Melissa, 2 days till I see Melissa, pick her up at the airport. And now we get to spend a whole week together just doing stuff.
yeah, I'm very, very excited for that.
Yeah. But tonight we have our bestie,
We
Eric, on,
do.
our favorite. Eric,
Hello.
welcome
Thank you. It's
to
good to be
the
here.
live show.
Yes.
And tell us what you got going on.
Yeah. What's been happening in your world?
What's not been happening in my world? um, well, I'm getting ready for the True Crime Podcast Festival,
Yay!
Yes.
which is next weekend.
So
Mhm.
we get to see Eric then
You
Thursday,
get to
right?
see me on Thursday. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll be driving in. So that's good. I just got back from London from CrimeCon UK. That was really cool. And I've just been working a lot on podcasts and day
Telling you.
jobs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Lot
I
going
feel like
on.
that's just the world right now.
Yeah.
Just grinding.
I
all
feel
the
like I'm
time.
insane for doing all the stuff I do, but it's fine.
I know. I remember one time you said you were getting ready to quit your day job.
Yeah. Shh, they might be listening.
Oh,
Just
I know,
kidding.
don't tell them.
Just kidding.
That was like a year ago when we first
Yeah.
met you. So apparently they
I've had a
switched.
change of attitude. Everything's
Okay.
fine.
You love your job so much and you'll never leave it.
Yes,
Ever.
never, ever. Love
No,
it.
it is an ultimate goal of mine to get to the place where I can podcast full time, but it's getting closer.
Yeah.
It could be this year still. We'll see.
Eric's on the cusp.
Eric is on the cusp.
I need just somebody to push me further out.
Same.
Same.
We need like
Same.
one of those giant slingshots that just like throws you out there.
That bus almost hit me after Chris pushed me under it, honestly.
He would do that. He would do that.
So tell us about this new project you got coming up.
Oh, yeah, new series starting on Sunday. It'll be out at midnight Saturday night, going into Sunday.
Okay.
It's an unsolved murder from the 1940s.
Oh.
Yeah, in March of 1949, a young woman, she was only 18 at the time, Ovida Cricket Kugler, she disappeared. Nobody knew where she was. She had a long night of partying. You know, she was a teenager. That's what teenagers do sometimes. She was out partying and she went missing. And the whole story is really kind of crazy. Like, you know, there's a pretty succinct timeline about her movements that night because there were a lot of people that could corroborate what was happening. But then it just gets kind of fuzzy, kind of closer to like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then a few days later, her body was found. And she had some involvement in, I don't know how I want to say it. Okay, well, I'll say it like this. So she was kind of a sexual independent woman.
Well, good
Young
for
woman.
her.
Yeah.
But it was 1949,
Yeah.
right? So that was not
So-
okay.
Yeah. There was a
Yeah.
lot of dissent about that then.
Yeah, and so when she went missing and when she was murdered, the community kind of really didn't care that much, especially law enforcement. They really just kind of treated her like, well, she's just like a floozy, and you know that's what happens when you do that kind of stuff. And she drank a lot, so clearly it's her fault. So there was a lot of victim blaming that was happening back then. But to this day, it's still not solved. There is some suspicion about who could be responsible for it. And the idea is that probably there was some kind of people in power. There's a couple of people that were known to abuse women, to sexually assault women, to be physically violent while they were sexually assaulting women, and they were in power. They were political people that had a lot of sway in the community. No, there never really was an official suspect. Well, they named an official suspect, but that person I don't think was the one who did it. So Chris asked if the suspect is still alive. The guy that I think did it died in the early 2000s.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that's going to be a sad one to listen to, but I'm interested.
Yeah, the thing about Cricket's story is that kind of mentality carried through, you know, as the story gets picked up by other outlets, other types of media, and there's only been like a handful of people who have actually told the story from a humanized perspective of treating her like a person who deserves to be treated with respect, treating her like a person who deserves justice, and telling her story about who she was as a person, because that in almost every article or book that you look at is missing. It's more about the intrigue of all of like the political corruption that was happening in New Mexico at the time, and a little bit of time on her. Like she's kind of just like the object,
the back burner.
Yeah,
like just let's throw in a little tidbits about that situation, but it's mainly about the ruthless men.
Yeah.
No.
So actually, my co-producer Jackie Moranti, she was the one that wrote and researched this, and we had some meetings, production meetings about the series, and she was like, I really want to bring Cricket's story to the forefront of the story. I want her to be the subject of this. And I'm like, absolutely, like 100%. That's how I try to do things all the time. So, we were very clear about that going into it. And I feel like we did a good job portraying that. It's going to be a 3-part series. I wish I could tell you like, oh, I solved it.
Yeah, don't we all? That's the goal.
Right.
But maybe somebody who knows something might listen and be able to come forward after all this time. Unfortunately, a lot of the family that she grew up with are gone.
Dang. Did she have much family? Like
she lived with her parents and her sister.
Okay. So there was people.
There were people around.
Man. Yeah. I'm definitely excited to listen to this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's a tragic, terrible case. And it's really interesting looking at some of these historical New Mexico cases, because the more you kind of go back, you see that like things really just don't change in New Mexico. Like we just kind of stay the same. We still have the same kind of political system here where people are doing things on handshakes and, in bars and stuff like that. So it's just really weird.
Absolutely.
You've interviewed politicians from the area, correct? How has that worked out? What are your feelings about doing that? Do you think change is coming for New Mexico? That sums it up.
So, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm Debbie Downer most of the time. I think I've told you guys that. Like, I feel like I always just bring the room down when I talk about stuff.
It's one of your greatest characteristics.
I'm pretty sure that that's how you start every conversation. You're like, hi, I'm the buzzkill here.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I interviewed the 2 Democrat candidates for Attorney General, and I had requested that the Republican candidate come and interview with me as well, but he has not yet. And it's a little bit self-serving that I did that, because right now the Attorney General is investigating my brother's case, and so I knew that he was going to be up for leaving the office, and there was going to be a new person coming in. So I kind of set that up just so that I could meet these candidates so that they
Right.
would know who I was. So when I start calling them and asking them about Jacob's case, there's no like, who are you? What happened? Like that's already done.
Mhm.
So at the same time, I realize my listeners that are in New Mexico might want to hear from these candidates because they do have a lot to do with the state of the justice system in New Mexico. And a lot of the people who are listening are either connected to family members of victims or are family members of victims. And so I felt like it would be a good way to, not to be cliche, but to hit two birds with one stone, right?
Yes.
I kind of plant that seed, and then I also get to help people become educated about who their candidates are.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, that's
Same. It's
Yeah.
really smart on your end as well because you are trying to create a non-biased platform. Hey, here's all of it. All of your options are out here, and both sides, no matter who wins, and knows who you are, and you can beat down their door, and they're not going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can say I was impressed with one of them and not so impressed with the other.
Really.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
You can spill the tea at dinner next week.
I'll tell you on
Yes.
Thursday. Yeah.
Yes, I am totally interested in that. Yeah, you have to do things like that in order to make change, though. You have
Mhm.
to. You can't.
And like Eric said, New Mexico is way behind
Yes.
when it comes to
Yes.
legislation.
Mhm.
Yes.
And y'all have one of the highest crime rates of all states.
Highest crime, highest child abuse incidences, highest, negligently caused or abusively caused child death. It's just, poverty, lowest in
Mhm.
education, high amounts of drug. I mean, it's just, there's so much going against us as a state.
And Jacob's case, you spoke with Laura from the Fall Line on
Can you believe
Jacob's
that?
case. I'm so excited for you. That's
Yes.
amazing.
I
Oh
love
my
came
her
God.
out-
podcast.
It came out this week, right?
Came out
Yes.
on
Tuesday? Wednesday? Okay, so yesterday. That's amazing.
I don't even know what day it is right now. So
It's fine.
Like they all run together when you work 80 hours a week.
Yep.
that was a really awesome experience. Laura's incredible. I have honestly never had such an awesome time talking about Jacob's story, which is weird.
I feel like it was amazing.
It really was. It was a good time, and we talked a lot longer than what y'all heard in the episode. So it was just cool to spend some time with her. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
sad that she's not going to be in Texas on next weekend.
Mhm.
Yeah. I hope to meet her one day, but I probably wouldn't know what to say to her. I feel like that's what Laura is one that I would fangirl over.
Yeah. I had a
sure.
hard time not doing that, honestly, but I did get a little sappy and be like, oh my God, I'm so glad like that we connected. And I've always been a fan of yours. She probably was really embarrassed. But
She's doing amazing things. She's probably like, oh my gosh, this dude.
I am sure she wasn't.
I
Yeah.
highly doubt it. But okay, so tell us a little bit about Jacob. You're coming on our podcast to talk about Jacob because we're in full advocation mode. We are not slowing down. We're justice for Jacob all the way. So you're going to come on our podcast very soon. So give a little teaser for our guys
Sure.
and gals and people and them, theys, all the people that listen to
Folks.
us. Yep.
Folks with an X. So Jacob was my baby brother. He was born on July 1st, 1986. I was 5 years old, and my family is like super religious, super intensely, scarily religious, and my dad was a Pentecostal evangelist.
Oh,
For those of you that don't know what that is, those are the people that you see like speaking in tongues, and they think that they can heal people by touching them. All kinds of stuff. It's it is what it is.
Mhm.
But anyway, I was raised in that. That's a long way for me to say that. And I was praying every night in my nightly prayers for a brother. And so when I found out my mom was pregnant, it was the best day of my life, really. Except for, when I had my son. Then that was the best day.
we like him too.
He's fine. He's fine. He's going to be 17.
Oh,
So, Jacob was this bright light in my family. My parents were having a really hard time at the time that Jacob was born. My dad was a traveling preacher. Like he was one of those like tent revival people.
Oh wow.
So he would be on the road all the time. And my mom would often be left with the kids with no money
Mm.
and no food. And so, they were working towards a separation. And my dad's best friend, his family is very connected to my family. His dad married my parents. He was a preacher.
Oh.
His sister married my mom's brother. His aunt is my godmother. So my family knows this person.
Mhm.
They've known this person. My mom knew him her whole life. They grew up together. And he was my dad's best friend. So he knew about the problems that were happening in my family. And he kind of swooped in. And as my mom left my dad, he was right there,
Mm.
ready to be like Mr. on the spot to save us, essentially, right? Because we were starved for my dad's attention and
Yes.
his parental responsibilities, his husband responsibilities that he didn't do. So this person comes in, disarms all of us because he's like, look how great I am. I love you guys. Here's all this awesome stuff that we're going to do. And so that's called love bombing for those of you who don't know.
I
And
didn't know that.
it's the disarming technique that people who are predatory in nature use to get you to let your guard down around them. And it's a manipulation tactic, essentially, right? But because we were at our most vulnerable at that time, it seemed like, you're in the desert and you haven't had water in days, and then now there's water.
Yes.
That's what it was like.
Mhm.
There was hope, finally.
How many kids were there total? So you and your brother was, and you said you have a sister too?
My sister was born later.
Okay.
But
Okay.
at this time, it was just me and Jacob.
Just you and Jacob. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't want to get into all the details, but essentially Jacob started to have some injuries that were not explainable. And it was shortly after my mom started seeing this person. And initially he blamed me and said that I had hurt Jacob because Jacob ended up having a skull fracture and a subdural hematoma. And my mom's boyfriend at the time said that I kicked Jacob in the head because I was jealous of him. And then he also said that I picked Jacob up out of his crib and dropped him on his head. And so, first of all, I don't think I would have had the strength as a 5-year-old to cause a skull fracture on my brother. Like, I don't think I would have had that amount of force because that's an incredible amount of force.
Yes.
Jacob was 10 pounds when he was born.
Ah.
So by this point, he was probably 20 pounds.
Mhm.
And I was lucky if I was 35. Like, I was really small. And so my mom wasn't really sure what was going on. She definitely didn't feel like her boyfriend was capable of this because, like I said, she knew him her whole life. He's this great guy that everybody loved. He was my dad's best friend. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Like that. So she was like, okay, I'm going to send my son to be with his dad. So she sent me to California. And Jacob's injuries didn't stop. And within a matter of weeks after I went to California, Jacob was dead.
Oh my God.
And we've been fighting for justice ever since April 10th, 1987, 35 years.
Wow.
What did they say then at the time? So they knew he died of obviously injuries, not natural causes. So did they open an investigation at that point?
Yeah. There was an investigation opened after the first traumatic brain injury that he had.
Okay.
And that was with the Child Protective Services in New Mexico, which is called CYFD, Children, Youth, and Families Division.
Okay.
And they started to investigate, but they didn't really do much. So like the investigator shows up at the house, and my mom's boyfriend opens the door and says like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" She's like, "I'm with Child Protective Services. I want to do an investigation. I need to talk to you, ask you some questions." He says, "Get the F out of here." And then she does.
Oh,
Well, like his response to that question tells you enough. Like, okay,
yes.
red
Wow.
flag number one right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. But then she left. And then there's no other follow-up that happened until Jacob's secondary injury. And this is when Jacob died. Then the investigation actually starts, but that now it's a homicide, potential
Mhm.
homicide investigation,
Mhm.
as opposed to a child abuse investigation.
Wow.
And not to give too much away because we will have an episode on this, but it did go to trial, correct? And it didn't make it to trial. No charges.
Trial, no charges.
That was it.
Oh, wow.
There was about 14 hours in jail.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for justice. It's very different from any other cases that I've looked at or I've heard about, because in New Mexico, up until recently, there was a statute of limitations on second-degree murder.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Here we
And-
go with these laws again at New Mexico.
Oh, I know.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
So there was a statute of limitations on second-degree murder, and that was the excuse that was given to us for a long time as to why the case wasn't going to be prosecuted. But it did get repealed. And then there was a case that went through the Supreme Court a few years ago that was one that had the statute of limitations had run out.
Mhm.
The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the victim's family and said that they should be able to bring charges forward against this murderer because the law had been repealed. So that's good news for this case, because that
Yeah.
means now not only is that law repealed, but it's also retroactive.
Okay, I was going to ask that next. I'm like, there's no grandfathered in because it happened
it's-
before. a
It's case
certain
law
time.
now. It's case law
Oh.
now. So they can go back and refer to that and say there's
Perfect.
precedence in New Mexico for this
Yeah.
happening.
Which is a
Wow.
big deal.
It's a
Big
huge
deal.
deal. It's a huge deal. It's one of the bigger barriers that we didn't think we were going to be able to overcome.
Yeah.
And so now that happened, we actually have some hope.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And just recently, they reopened his case, your brother's case, correct?
Yeah, the Attorney General reopened the investigation, and we'll see.
Okay.
Did the murderer have connection? Yes, Zane or Zanny. I don't know if I pronounced your name properly. Yes, the murderer did have connections. So he worked for the county. He knew everybody in the county, including the DA. Oh, and also the DA was his divorce attorney from my mom, much later in the story.
Oh.
Yeah, interestingly enough.
How convenient.
And yeah, I know, right?
Oh,
And he played basketball with law enforcement every weekend.
Lovely.
Oh, I don't even remember how I said it. So sorry. Zane. Okay. Thank you. I'm a disaster. If I didn't have Whitney in my life, I don't know what I would do, because I don't ever know what's going on.
That's just my lot in life, is just to keep everybody like moving in the right direction. It might be chaos, but it's going to be like a stampede, but we're all going the right way. You know, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah. I told her that she needs to be my like platonic wife, because I just need her in my life.
Exactly. We're podcast husband and wife here. Don't tell mine. He doesn't know yet. I haven't told him.
Oh,
he's on
sorry.
here. He's
Oops.
Sorry, babe.
Oops. Yeah, so he did have connections. I always say that, like, at best, it's negligence on the part of law enforcement and the DA. And at worst, there's some kind of conspiracy cover-up that has happened. I can't prove that, so I kind of try to keep it on that spectrum, which is a pretty wide spectrum. It could be a combination of both or a mix, but it's definitely a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion.
100%. Because there should have been way more investigation than that.
Yes.
And they
I
should have
would-
charged them
Mhm.
right away.
Yeah. I mean, from that initial hospital visit, usually the doctors at that point, when they suspect any type of child abuse, they don't even let the child go home until that investigation happens.
And I don't know when that started happening. And I don't
Mhm.
know if 1987,
Oh,
if it
that's
was,
true.
if it was that.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember. I think I remember child abuse really being kind of a focus when I was like in my teens, in the
Oh.
90s.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Then
that's
it really
true.
became an issue. But I feel like it was kind of one of those things that people didn't really understand.
Yeah,
They didn't understand domestic violence back then either.
Mm-mm.
it's very true.
Nope.
And they
They sure
probably
didn't.
did not have any resources available to deal with anything like that back then.
I talked to Laura about that, and I don't really remember. I wouldn't know because I was so young, but my assumption, because we didn't take advantage of any resources, we didn't have a victim advocate, we didn't have, court provided therapy or anything like that for what we went through.
Mhm.
The only counseling we got was counseling that my mom set up, and we got it for free because we were just like really poor, right? So
Mhm.
we didn't have to pay for that. But even if there were those types of resources, my guess is that it was probably in Albuquerque, because I lived an
Uh-huh.
hour south of Albuquerque in a really small town. I think there was like 8,000 people that lived there. So even if there were resources, we probably would have had to drive an hour just to get them.
To get there, yeah.
Mhm. And that's a lot. Who can afford that? I mean,
Mhm.
the time, the gas, just all of it.
Or even having the vehicle to do that
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
And we didn't have internet back then, so there were no Zoom
Oh,
calls or
definitely.
any of that.
Definitely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
No virtual therapy available
Mm-mm.
then.
No.
Nope.
God.
BetterHelp was not a thing.
Right.
It's crazy how things have changed so much.
It really is.
Well, now that Eric's brought us down as he does regularly, let's talk about. Oh wait, hold on. Sane has a comment.
Correct.
Precisely.
Agree.
Hopefully, she, they, him, whoever was that showed up at that door was fired immediately.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Well,
Yes.
lovely. That's great for all the other kids that were under her watch.
Because all she has to do is go back and say, "Oh, it was unfounded," or "Hey,
Right.
no," like that's it. And then there was probably no checks and balances, so that's her job, and she summed it up, and everyone moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then the story gets like way worse, and we won't go into all of it because I want to save some for our episode. But there's a lot of other aftermath that my mom and I dealt with for years after Jacob died, and like I said, when we first went into the situation, we all trusted this person, we knew this person, and then our opinion of him changed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a little peek under the tent.
Yeah. So that will be coming soon. We haven't figured out when we're going to record it yet, but we're going to do it soon. So
Yes.
it'll be out eventually.
One day.
One day.
Yes.
Hold on.
So it'll be a surprise when you
Yes.
guys
For all of us.
Yep. Yep.
One of us know.
He says I keep his life in order, but I'm like, hey, what are you doing Thursday? Nothing, right? And he texts me like 30 minutes before the starts, and he's like, I've been working all day. It's a shit show of a week. And I'm like, great. And you could have told me no, but here we are.
It's fine. I wanted to spend time with you guys. I wanted to, since I'm not going to be able to see you this weekend,
I know.
I wanted
That's
to see
fine.
you here. So it's made my day so much better.
Well, it's only a week, 7 days till we see Eric in person.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm dreaming about that dinner that we're going to have.
Apparently, Lainey has never been,
What?
and she lives there. So
Are we going to
that's
the one in Allen?
unacceptable. No, we're going to go to the one in Fort Worth because it's the best one.
Okay.
I know
I've been to
because
the
I've
one
been
in
to all
Allen.
of them.
Yeah, I've been to the one in Allen. It was okay.
What makes it the best one?
I don't know if it's because that's the first one I ever went to. We're going to
Mm.
Texas de Brazil, guys. I don't know if it's the first one because it's the first one. You know how you get that stigma, like you go to the same one every time, and then you have a taste for that one specific thing,
Yes.
and then you can't. It's like Allsup's Burritos versus 7-Eleven
Right.
burritos or taquitos. Like if you grow up on Allsups, you're always going to be an Allsups person. If you grow up on 7-Eleven, you're always going to be a 7-Eleven person.
Yeah, but if you're a 7-Eleven person and you go to Allsups and you don't think that Allsups is better, then you're just not
Sorry, babe.
somebody I want to know.
We're going to. I hadn't told Jeff that we're going to Texas. You can't chew anyway. You had a tooth pulled out. You can't have food anyway.
It wouldn't be the same going there and eating mashed potatoes.
With
Yeah.
the bananas are worth it.
Do they have pineapple
that-
too?
They don't do the pineapple. They just do the plantains with the sugar to cleanse your palates between meats.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was the Fort Worth one that we took Levi to his last birthday there.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a Brazilian steakhouse for people watching that don't know.
Oh, yes. Chuscaria, or however you pronounce it.
Churrascaria.
There you go.
I used to work in one.
What?
Yeah.
I know how to sing happy birthday in Portuguese.
Nice.
Oh, that's
Okay,
exciting.
so let's put you on the spot, Eric.
Say it.
Sing it?
Yeah, sing it.
Oh, God. Parabéns pra você nessa data querida. Muitas felicidades, muitos años de vida.
Okay, so
Nice.
now every year on my birthday, I expect at least a voicemail of that.
You got it.
Okay.
That's the only Portuguese I know. So.
Oh, okay.
That's cool though.
More than I know. So we're going, we're gonna have dinner. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And then we have to stuff bags afterwards. I guess that's the like payment we have to
That's fine.
make for it. It's fine. It's fine.
That's the payment for all the other work that you've done. Like, somehow that equals out. It's
How
fine.
about some more
fine.
payment?
Listen,
Yeah.
listen, Leroy Jenkins.
Yes.
Leroy Jenkins. It's
Leroy
fine.
Jenkins.
Look, we love Lainey and we love the
We
True Crime
do.
Podcast Festival.
We
and
do.
I know that's where we met.
That's where we
Eric.
met.
It
That's where we
is.
met. Yes. That was
Yeah.
such a good time, too.
Oh,
We-
such a good time.
I can't believe we've only been friends for a little over a year because that
Mhm.
was 4th of July weekend last
Yep.
year.
Oh,
I feel like I've
shoot.
known you my whole life.
I think after Colorado, like our friendship was solidified
Yep.
after
Yep.
that tour.
Yep. When you do 4 shows back to back to back to back and you're just exhausted and you just have to
And you have to
Pucker
drive
up
in a
and go.
blizzard.
and drive in a blizzard. Yep.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about the blizzard.
I felt so bad that Justin was following us through that mountain because we went the back way to Denver
In his little car, too,
in his
right?
little car. Oh, I felt so bad because then
And
it
then
just
we
started
thought they
snowing.
got lost.
They did get lost,
Yeah, they did make a wrong turn. That's
but we
right.
did think they were going to go off the side of the mountain.
Oh, God. That was a
Yeah.
scary time.
Yeah, that was scary.
But
time.
speaking of tours, so we did
Yeah.
Colorado. Now we're doing Texas.
We're
We
doing
are.
Texas. We're doing Texas. Yeah, that's exciting. So September 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th.
Yes.
23rd
Nope,
is
nope.
No,
No,
26.
22nd.
Yeah.
23rd, 24th, 25th.
Yep.
I'm like, I just bought my plane ticket today and I did it for the 22nd, so it better be the
20 so
22nd.
the 22nd is Fort Worth it's the Wine House.
White
Mhm.
House.
Haus.
Yep. Alps, the German spelling.
23rd is Dallas, and that's the
Times 10
times
Times
10
10.
winery.
Yep.
Or
20
cellars. Time 10
Cellars.
cellars. Mhm.
24 is Wanderlust. East
Mhm.
side.
Austin.
East side. There's 2 locations in Austin. Don't go downtown because you'll be lost. We're on the
East
east
side.
side. It's where they have the drag brunch, and I got to go to that. We got to go.
And then the last one is a Sunday brunch
Hmm.
from 12 to 1 in Houston at the Sable Gates Winery.
I like how we went from all breweries to
Yes.
All wineries.
all wineries.
We did try breweries. We did
We
try to get
did.
breweries.
We
Yeah.
did.
Yes, we really did. We'll mix it up next time.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that-
Chris I don't, he either comes back the day that I leave or he leaves the day that I come back. I don't know.
Y'all
One
can
or
just
the
split
other.
an Uber. Like one Uber, take that Uber to the airport, the other one take that one back home.
Exactly.
that was a good idea.
There you
Chris
go.
is going to California, I think.
Oh gosh. All right.
Yeah, I think for work.
You know, sometimes it's just how your schedule is.
Yeah.
We
When you
It's
work.
like that in
neither
my
of
house
us
too.
neither of us have went anywhere for a while.
It has been some travel like droughts going on lately. Although this is the longest time Melissa and I have been apart from each other.
Yes. It is the longest
since we've been friends, and it's
like
been
ever.
it's been
Yeah,
rough. It's been
I
rough.
know. We. I mean, obviously, we talk all day, every day, but it's definitely different when we don't get to hang out. I am so looking forward to a pedicure and
Yes.
just
Ooh,
hanging out.
Yep.
fun.
Tuesday we have nails day. Yep.
We do
Tuesday
have
we're getting our
nails
nails
day.
done. Wednesday we're getting hair done. Melissa got hers done before she's leaving because she's coming to see me. And then so then we're gonna be all ready for the TCPF. It's gonna be great. Also I can't believe Lainey released it earlier. Whoever, so I think someone snuck
It was
behind Lainey's
Lainey.
back.
It was
Lainey.
Lainey.
No, she's like me in that way where like if I have a present for you and you're supposed to have it on a certain day, you're gonna get it like 3 weeks early because I can't take it. She's
I'm the same way. I do
Yeah.
it to Jeff all the time. I'm like, I got your anniversary present and we got married in December. I'll get it in July. And I'm like, I got it. He's like,
want it?
okay. I'm like,
You
do you
want
want
a
it? Yeah.
Do you want a hint?
He's like,
Well,
now
you're
that I
gonna
know
need
you
it.
have it, give
And I do
it.
that and it's not even wrapped. I'm like, here you go.
Yep. Here it is, still in the Amazon box. Congratulations.
Can
Yeah,
we
I'm the
open
same.
it now?
So anyway, I cut you off. I'm sorry. but
No,
I
it's
said
fine.
it right in there.
So next year, August 20, some dates, 3rd through the 25th, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be here in Austin, my hometown. Yay. So everyone can come in early. We'll go out. It'll be fun.
Yes.
And
We can take them to that vegan place I picked out. That one.
no, we will not go. The first time Melissa came to Austin, let me tell you this story. Melissa, we come down. It's when we first moved to Austin. Melissa rides down with me the weekend because to get into our rental, we had to be there for the internet to set up, and the boys were bringing a load of stuff down behind us the next day. So we get here early. We're like, we're gonna go to lunch. It's not my hometown. It's my current town. Excuse
The
me.
one unless we get her to move to Florida. I'm like,
It's the one I'm currently living in where my home is. Sorry.
Yeah.
We get here and we're like, okay, we're gonna go to lunch. And Melissa's like, where do you want to go to lunch? So we're Googling places nearby. And she
What was
picks
the name? It was
Sour
a
Duck.
I was like, I know it was a duck. Doesn't that sound cutesy, trendy?
No, it sounds awful.
Not when you're in Austin and 99% of the places are hipster vegan places.
They're hipster. It was
There you go.
hipster.
And so we were like, okay, that's sure. Let's try it out. We get there and it's like, here's vegan ketchup. Did you know that
Yeah.
ketchup is not vegan? I didn't know that until we were here.
Mhm.
Melissa had like a roasted beet salad. I don't even think they were roasted.
But it was good. It was good. I mean, for a beet salad, it was good.
Our 4 children would disagree that they're vegan corn dogs or whatever.
No, pretzels. They had
Pretzels.
vegan pretzels.
Were not good.
The pretzels were okay. I think it was the cheese sauce that they were like,
Well,
No
vegan
go.
cheese is disgusting.
yes. I think that's where it was. And then there was a carrot salad, if I'm not
Carrot
mistaken.
slaw, like
Yes.
coleslaw. I'm like, is not coleslaw already vegan? No,
Yeah.
it has mayonnaise in it.
Mayo
So,
has eggs. Yeah.
yeah, but they make coleslaw with like vinegar and stuff. That's kind of what I thought it was going to be.
yeah,
Wrong.
like a vinegar base.
Vegan
No.
mayo.
coleslaw.
Yeah.
It was no bueno. Like, let's just
Yeah.
be real. At the end of the day, everyone was like, Melissa, you picked the shittiest place.
Melissa lost her ability to
I
pick
can't
food for
Yes,
the
I
rest of the
couldn't
weekend.
pick
Oh,
any
so
more.
this have some of
food.
the best vegan places. There's a wonderful. Oh.
Interesting.
So, I think I have this thing about food trying to be other food. Like, like why don't make vegan cheese? Like just make vegan a different thing so
Yeah.
that I'm not like disappointed when I'm like, this cheese is disgusting.
Because you know what real cheese tastes
Yes.
It's like tofu. Like, you know that tofu is not vegan meat. It's just tofu. Don't call
Yeah.
it vegan cheese. Call it something else. Bean
Yeah.
sprout liquid or whatever it is.
Whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm not expecting cheese and then I taste it and I'm like, ew.
Exactly. Because if they had a different name for it, I would totally be like, oh, okay, this is
Yeah.
different. I wouldn't be thinking of cheese.
Right.
I think they even had vegan wine there, and it was also not that great.
Oh, I can't remember that.
I remember everything being a disappointment. And then we had to go to Target to get a soccer ball, but we went to the smallest Target in all of Austin that
Yes.
didn't even have a sporting goods section.
What?
It was tiny.
It was on
Wow.
UT's campus. So if
Yeah,
you need
it
a
was,
soccer
like, right
ball,
there. It
don't
was
go there.
multiple level Target, but it was like only a tiny corner. So yeah.
So and that was like the first major weekend we were in Austin. So I knew nothing.
Yeah, we were just winging it.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing. It was fun adventure.
It was
We had all 4 boys then as well.
Mm-hmm.
So That's good. You know the good places to eat now.
Now we've scoped out, which since then, that's the only bad restaurant I've ever been to in Austin.
And I don't think it's bad. It just
not
if we
Whitney,
were-
not for Whitney.
if we were vegan people, we would love it.
Absolutely. Whitney likes meat, not for Whitney. So
Yes.
now we choose places like all the barbecue that's great here.
Mhm.
Yes.
You know. It's just not for me. It's fine.
Yeah. It had a cutesy little patio, and
Oh yeah.
it was cute, but yeah, it was not. our
I
type of
don't
food.
feel like I'm gonna return. We'll just
Oh
say that.
no, it's a one-time thing. Now we know, and we've moved on.
So there's a vegetarian restaurant here in San Antonio that I also do not recommend
Oh,
because it's a Mex-Italian situation.
Those are conflicting flavors.
Agreed.
and add vegetarian on top of it.
Yeah. So you ask for because they have like chips and salsa, but the salsa tastes like marinara.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's weird.
It is.
It's kind of like when we were in Boston and I asked for chips and salsa and I got a bowl of pico de gallo. And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
this is not salsa.
Nope.
yeah.
This is pico.
Which I know I had Chipotle today, and one of their salsas, they say it's a salsa, but it's pico de gallo. I ate it with a fork. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should not be able to eat salsa with a fork.
No.
No, it's a
You
spoon.
could still have chunky salsa.
Yes.
But
yeah.
it has to be liquidy. Like
It has to
run
be
it through a
liquidy, yeah.
blender one time, like pulse it once, and then you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw some stewed tomatoes in it and call it a day.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Exactly. Something like
So I
that.
want to know what their entrees are at this
I know.
Italian.
Tell us. some.
Italian Mex Italian.
Mex-Italian is kind of what I coined it as.
Okay.
I'll tell you. I'll give you their menu if they're still open.
Okay.
This was back when I used to be a vegetarian,
Oh,
a long time ago.
Because in my mind, I can only picture a taco shell with spaghetti on it. And I know that's wrong, but that's where my mind goes.
oh.
This is it, maybe.
I was thinking pasta, but with like,
In a taco shell.
but not in a. I was thinking just like toppings or like things that are Mexican style.
I
you
will
know?
say I have had like a Mexican casserole where it's noodles, taco
Okay,
meat,
so that's
stuff
what
like
I'm
that.
thinking of. Yeah,
But there's no
Okay.
like Italian flavors in that at all. So that's where I'm confused.
the pasta part is, I guess.
Yeah, so there's like they've changed the menu now. It's not as crazy as it was, but it does now. It has like a bunch of different stuff. Now they have Asian food too.
Oh, so it's a fusion place.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to be like the vegetarian Cheesecake Factory, maybe.
Oh,
Oh,
maybe.
yeah, 5-page menu.
Yeah.
They have a
Peop-
Texas-sized cinnamon roll, vegan,
Oh,
3.5 pounds.
so do they keep the Italian stuff to get? They just have like Italian menu, a Mexican menu. They don't necessarily put
They've
them
got
together.
they got Mediterranean too. Yeah, it's not
Oh,
all
gosh.
together,
Okay.
Oh, okay. So they just have a wide variety of options.
but it
It's-
used to be all mixed.
It used to be like
Okay.
taco calzones,
Yeah,
which would
Oh.
technically be an empanada.
correct.
Okay.
I've
we're
always
getting
said
somewhere.
I've always said that like lasagna is like the enchiladas of Italian
Yes.
food. You know?
Now I'm
Yes.
not ever going to see it any other way.
Yes.
Who wants Italian enchiladas tonight?
I'm dumb.
No, it makes
It's-
sense.
And I bet it's delish.
Yeah.
If it wasn't vegetarian. But
Yeah.
Well, the
actually, I
vegetarian
would probably rather have vegetarian than vegan, though.
same.
Yeah. True. Very true.
Weird track of conversation that we're going down.
Yeah.
I-
Welcome to our true crime conversation. And now we
always
are
do
talking
this.
about food.
We do this all the time. And then we're like, okay, we just spent 12 minutes on an appetizer. Let's
Right.
go back to true crime.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about true crime.
So
I thought
the most thing I was going to talk about is
Yeah.
the Lori Vallow trial that happened
Yes.
yesterday. I don't know if anyone watched it. We recorded yesterday, so I was on it for a bit before we recorded, and by the time we got done, wrapped it all up. I went to back to it and they were done. But basically, she had the time of her life at this
Yeah.
hearing. Good old day. She was laughing a lot.
She's living for it, for the
Mhm.
attention, I think.
Mhm.
Yes.
Every time. Go
do
ahead,
you
Liz.
think it's a ploy to kind of go back to that insanity thing? Or do you think she's just
I
an
hope.
asshole?
I
Because either way, she's an asshole, but
I hope that the judge and everyone there is like cognizant enough of her tactics that they're like, okay, we gave you 3 tries at this,
yes.
and now we're done with you. We're gonna push
Yeah.
you through this. We're gonna follow the system and procedures and be done with this. Literally, every time someone said her name, she smiled.
Yeah,
She
like
is
she was
like
in
an
a beauty pageant.
attention whore.
She's a
Like,
narcissist.
yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I agree. The like 5 minutes I got to watch of it, I wish I could go through the camera and slap her too.
So what was yesterday's trial here? What was it about specifically? Obviously, it wasn't the whole thing.
No, I believe it was something which I didn't get to watch a lot of it, but her lawyer was trying to not really get her off on anything, but he's trying to say, well, it's not fair and we needed to push it back and this isn't fair and it took too much time and I didn't have enough. It took too much time, but I didn't have enough time for my discovery and I don't have enough time. Like it was so many excuses over and over and over. In the 5 minutes I watched, I don't even really know what he argued.
Yeah, it looks like his biggest concern was that the counts, especially like the number of counts, was confusing, and the way the charges were written in the indictment, according to him, was
Mhm.
confusing. And so he was asking the case to be sent back to a grand jury because he feels like maybe the grand jury was not given good information, which I disagree with.
Yeah, it was something about, oh, the conspiracy to commit the crime only started a day before, but it ended once the children were killed. So that's only one day. That's all I kind of heard. And then something about a vehicle, that there was arguments about a vehicle, and I'm just like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
She's
so
gross.
sad. So sad he went to law school and doesn't understand the story, right?
Yeah, it's like day 1 of law school. Let's go over what a law is or a charge is. He missed that day, okay?
He did. He was absent. He might have had COVID.
Yes, had to have a root canal. Something.
Had to have a root canal. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. He just kept. Just like Whitney said, he just kept repeating the same things over and over and over. And I'm like, okay, why is the judge not just stopping him right here? Yes, sir, sit down.
He kept saying untimely. It was untimely. This is untimely. It was those charges are untimely. I didn't get that paper. It was untimely. And I texted my mom in the 5 minutes I was watching it because she was in the same live stream of it. And I was like, if he says untimely one more time.
You could almost have a drinking game.
Yes.
Every time he says untimely, let's drink. And then you'll be drunk.
Here's what he said. He said the conspiracy to commit murder and the conspiracy to commit grand theft are 2 separate conspiracies. We believe it would be confusing to a jury to be able to figure out what elements were met, when the elements were met, and to what extent the elements were met. He said the case will be fundamentally unfair. Oh, jinx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does that mean? In non-lawyer talk.
Yeah.
I got the same vibe of, have you seen Legally Blonde when she's like talking about the daughter being in the shower and they're like, we've established that she's in the shower. Like that's how I felt.
Move on.
Come on. Yeah.
Let's get to it. Let's get to it.
I could understand that a little bit better than what this guy said.
Also, if Lori wants an unbiased trial, like she should have thought of that before she went crazy and did all this stuff and became a spectacle. Like she created this spectacle.
She did.
Oh yeah, 100%. And Melissa said she saw a meme today of her because she had her hair in this like top little tiny ponytail of her. It's got to be like a Shih Tzu.
I think it was. I think something like that. Yes. Bob's not on today, but
Yeah.
we'll get him. What does all that mean?
Yeah. What does it mean to be untimely, Bob?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Yes.
The jury's probably
And I truly feel that Lori's case was so publicized from the beginning. I mean,
It
as soon as
was.
those kiddos went missing or they hadn't heard from them, it was all over the media. Everyone
It
was
was her
looking for them.
behavior.
It was
Yeah.
her behavior that
Mhm.
made everyone, and it's almost like she wanted that attention.
Mhm.
Even then, that's usually when the killers lie low, but nope, she was flaunting it.
Mhm. When we talked about it, because Eric's covered this case too, I want to know more about their doomsday cult
Yeah.
and like the
Yeah.
rules and regulations behind it.
Maybe we can do a crossover about that.
Yeah.
Yes. And I
Because
think in some of those instances when they have these doomsday cults, they always change the narrative anyways to fit whatever they're
oh,
thinking or wanting at the time. So there's no like hard and fast rules, but yeah, definitely. I mean, the kids being zombies,
mhm,
weird. And I mean, we've heard some weird stuff because of cults.
mhm.
But yeah, she's definitely weird.
She's still definitely wanting the attention. The way she was
She
giggling
is.
and smirking and waving at the crowds as she was walking out
Yeah, like she's at the
like a
MTV
damn
Awards.
beauty pageant.
She's gross.
She's gross. Yes, and she's going to be in prison a very long time. The Chad, his Daybell, his trial hasn't started yet, correct?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I do not think so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
This is like way tangent off of Lori. So welcome to Whitney's brain. Did you hear about the Harmony Montgomery thing, Eric?
Yes, I did. Yes.
About the refrigerator?
Yeah.
Okay, so those who
That's
don't know, Harmony Montgomery was the little girl who had been missing for 2 years before she was reported missing by
Mhm.
her mother. They did a search a couple months ago now, maybe a
Mhm.
month, 2 months ago, of a property that her father and stepmother lived at. They seized a refrigerator that was all over the news that they took this refrigerator, which there was other tenants living there, wasn't there?
They just rented that house, and I think they were evicted. And this was the last known house that Harmony had lived at. Like people
Mhm.
knew she was seen there. That was
Mhm.
the last residence that they were at 2 years prior. So
Mhm.
this is a long time.
So they seized that refrigerator as evidence, took it in, tested it, and apparently there was evidence inside that leading them to believe that Harmony had been deceased in that location at some
Mhm.
point.
Yeah, they said biological
Mhm.
material or something like that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, were these people using that refrigerator? Where was this refrigerator for 2 years?
And
And was it not cleaned? I don't know. I have all the questions.
and it amazes me that they're able to find, I'm going to assume something very minuscule
Yes.
years later after other people have been using it. So props to that crime scene team.
But they also, this was the case where I believe in the dead of winter, they went out and did sonar in the backyard, but
Mhm.
they had to melt the ice and get the ground to not be so frozen.
Because this is in New
Before.
Hampshire.
Yeah, before. And they were out there for days looking for her. I don't believe they found anything with that, but
Mm-mm.
yeah, so now they do believe she is dead.
Deceased. Mhm.
Yes, and
terrible.
and it's her dad. But I
Yeah.
mean, he talked about throwing her around the house to an uncle.
Didn't he punch her in the face too?
He
in front of
did.
people?
Yep. Yes. And she was only like a 5-year-old
She was
little
a
cutesy
baby.
She was tiny.
tiny. Cutest little thing
Mhm.
ever.
Wore the cutest little glasses.
How could
Yes.
anybody? I mean, it's
Ugh.
just
Ugh,
Yeah.
I
sickening.
can't. Ugh, I can't.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is the
Exactly.
stuff I talk about all the time on my show, but it's just it doesn't matter. I never get desensitized to
Mhm.
it. It's always,
Exactly.
It's always awful.
And we talk a lot about this, about how the children ones are always so much harder, but we're always gravitated towards them because of
Yes.
how much more horrible they are.
Yes.
And for me, it's like these are the kinds of things that people don't want to talk about. And for me, that makes me feel like we have to. Like we have to, because
Yes.
it's not gonna get better. if we ignore it. Like, you can't ignore this problem away.
Yeah.
And of course, because of my history and my connection, it's something that I always gravitate to as well, gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely I can't understand it. So it is baffling to me. Any child abuse cases or anything like that, just as much as the cults, because to me that's absolute asinine and crazy as well. But I'm like, how, why? I just, yeah, definitely horrible things that we will not quit talking about. And
Mm-mm.
the day that we do become desensitized to it, obviously we need to stop what we're doing
It's over.
because
Yeah.
it's over because we're obviously in it for different reasons then. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you know that the Daybell cult believed that there were zombies of people who were still walking around in the earth, inhabiting the bodies of people?
Yeah. Isn't that why she
That's why they
killed her
kill-
kids? Yeah.
yeah, I knew like they said that they thought the kids were zombies
Mhm.
and that's why they killed
This-
them.
And this is very parallel to lizard people in my brain.
Yeah.
Is I don't understand it.
agree.
I can't wrap my head around the thought process of how did we get to here?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe
Yeah.
I'm just small-minded.
But that's just like the Matthew guy out of San Diego
Yeah,
that
the
killed
QAnon.
killed his 2 children because he thought they had lizard DNA in them.
Yeah.
So he just murdered them with a horrible way as well.
Mhm.
Yeah,
People are crazy.
they are
Agreed.
definitely insane.
Well, what else we got? We got 3 minutes left, or we can call it early. How you
Mm.
feeling?
Well, I can talk about Women of Waters if you want for a few
Oh,
minutes.
yes.
Yes.
2 minutes.
Yes. Please
So-
do.
That series ended a couple of weeks ago, but I did go, I believe, 3 episodes into the Women of Juarez, which is a really tragic case that involves up to 100,000 women in Mexico that have gone missing or been murdered. And it's been happening for decades. It's been happening since the 90s. And there's a lot of police corruption kind of mixed into it. There's a lot of authority corruption mixed into it. And there have been some suspects, but a lot of them have been somewhat of red herrings that have been established by the police in order to misdirect investigations, misdirect the justice system in Mexico, so that the people that are actually responsible are never, ever held accountable. And so I think that the overall feeling about these cases is that, of course, there's some level of cover up, but a lot of people believe that there may be some really wealthy individuals who have purchased the right to do what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's still happening today.
Yeah, it's definitely not a safe place there. I remember we lived not far from
Yeah.
Juarez, and Chris would go there with his friends, but he's like, "You can't go there," and I'm like, "Try me," but I never went. Thankfully,
It's a very dangerous city.
Yeah.
But it's not just Juarez, it's all of Mexico. I mean,
Yeah.
there's an epidemic of femicide that is
Mm.
happening there and has been happening there for a long time, and women are being ignored, and the cartels are also involved in this in some level, for sure. They do whatever they want as well. But it's just, as I dug into it and just watching like these women protest just to like be able to live their lives, it broke my
Yeah.
heart.
Mm,
That's it. I'm done. I'll shut up.
It's
you're like,
fine.
and that's a wrap. No.
Yep.
Bye.
And end. Fiend.
Oh,
Well,
Lordy. Well,
Thanks for
thank
hanging out with
you.
us for an hour
Yes.
on your busiest day
I was
ever.
like, even after your 15-hour work
Yep.
day.
This made it so much better.
I know. I'm always like, oh, we have to live. But then I'm like, oh, it's so nice to just
Yeah.
chat. And
I hope people enjoy it because I enjoy it.
I enjoy it. I
Even
really
though,
That's
like,
what
right before it starts, where it's like, oh, we're so tired.
I know. Well, and it's later here. And I'm like, oh, God, I have to stay up. I can't even get in my bed until after 10.
We're old.
I'm an old lady. Oh, I'm like, ah,
Well, we
but-
will both of our shows will be live on Spotify Live on
Mhm.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yep, we're at 3:45. Eric immediately follows us. So if you haven't downloaded Spotify Live, do it. Follow your people. We are at Cults Crimes Cab. What's yours?
True Consequences Pod on Insta and Facebook, and True Cons Pod on Twitter.
Got it, because characters matter on Twitter.
Correct. And I have the longest name ever.
And the longest name ever.
I don't think we know what we're talking about on our live.
We don't. Yes, we do. We're doing Surviving Love. We're making Lou come do it.
Oh, that's
She-
right.
She can
That's
talk
right.
for 30 minutes. We love Lou. She talks
I'm doing
nonstop.
an old-timey serial killer from New Mexico.
Ooh. I like it.
yes. That's exciting.
So if you aren't at True Crime Podcast Festival, that's where you can hear us at True Crime Podcast Festival. I also know that mine and Melissa's panel, we are going to be live streaming it on our Facebook.
Mhm.
So make sure you follow us there. Obviously, you follow us because you're watching us here. And then, yeah, everyone have a good night. And what does
Bye.
Eric always say? Stay
Stay
safe,
safe, New Mexico. Yep.